have come to identify misinformation that comes kind of cloaked in data and in media and on the internet in all forms.
Right, and I think it's worth mentioning, you started this new effort, the Center for an Informed Public, I think in December, so you had no idea that something like a pandemic might be around the corner, right?
No idea. And we really did start this center because of expertise we had at our university. So this is something that we were probably trying to prepare for 10 years, 20 years in the future, and it happened 2 months later.
Well, I think that's exactly why I wanted to talk to you, because, I'm a science reporter when I'm not hosting this podcast. And the thing that struck me covering it is just how much real scientific uncertainty there is around what's happening. How does that sort of uncertainty create the potential for misinformation and disinformation?
We don't communicate science or uncertainty very well, and now we're in an environment where there's lots of uncertainty. And so it's really difficult in these uncertain environments that need quick answers for science to just come up with the answers. So who comes to the rescue? It's the propagandists, it's the opportunists, and also the honest person just trying to sort things out because they're trying to do sense making and try to figure out what to do to deal with their family and friends and the health of themselves.
What are some other conspiracies or misinformation that you're seeing online about the virus?
It turns out it's a harder question than you would think in trying to get at that, because we have all the conversations on Twitter that we've collected around COVID, and you can look at hashtags or frequency of terms. The bioweapon conspiracy has been very stable since the very beginning, stable in a bad way.
And what is that one about?
The bioweapon conspiracy is the conspiracy that this virus was created to cause havoc, that was sort of synthetically created in a laboratory.
Deadly animal-borne coronavirus may have originated in a laboratory in the city of Wuhan linked to China's covert biological weapons program.
The 5G conspiracy is way up there.
The theory is that 5G damages the human immune system.
All of us should know what's taking place right under our noses.
One thing we've seen in our data, and others that study this have seen, Bill Gates, for example, has become a central character. He's kind of become the next sort of George Soros, in that he's identified as the sort of mastermind behind this because he wants us all to take vaccinations. He's really been a new big target in this COVID crisis.
The thing that keeps coming back to my mind about Bill Gates in this arena is this is some kind of eugenics agenda that he has in mind.
And just to be clear, those are all total conspiracies with pretty much no supporting evidence. But when it comes to people who are just reading the news, do you have thoughts about how they can sort the good information from that bad information?
Really, there is no simple answer. This is something you learn over a lifetime of consuming information, I think. But one thing is, if you read something that evokes an emotion of some sort, a strong emotion, anger, sadness, fear, then you should be a little bit concerned about what it's saying. I would just take a second look at it, sort of source it. That emotional evoking response is something that the propagandists and the opportunists are well aware of, and they use it a lot. And the algorithms delivering our content and the recommender systems on media sites and, on our social media platforms, those algorithms have been running experiments and also know that. So be aware of those kinds of things.
Do you have anything else reassuring to offer about how to get comfortable living with uncertainty, specifically during this pandemic?
You have a lot of smart people that have spent their entire life dealing with this kind of scenario that now is a real scenario. What gives me confidence is that we do have some of the best doctors and medical professionals out there doing the best they can. I think our information environment includes a lot of misinformation, a lot of disinformation, but there's also a lot of good reporting and a lot of good science out there too.
Mm-hmm. It almost sounds like you're saying, be skeptical, but understand that people have real expertise in some things.
Absolutely. There's good science out there, and we just need to sometimes rely on gatekeepers to help us with it. And that's the journalists and the experts that spend their career working on this.
All in all, Jevin has some specific ideas for how to grapple with uncertainty without falling for quick answers that aren't actually true. So here are some ideas about how you can consume news and information these days.
And the first thing is, if you're feeling overwhelmed by uncertainty about this pandemic, a good way to start is not to jump down a Twitter or YouTube rabbit hole. Be careful about how you consume information and how much.
You're not going to get anything new by refreshing your browser every minute or every second.
Next, check multiple sources for whatever information you're taking in. This will kind of pad your assurance that what you're reading is accurate, especially if that something seems too good or too bad to be true.
Extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence.
Another tip, note when scientists say that they are uncertain. Just because they've done research and they publish certain things doesn't mean that that's the end of the line. Not all answers are solid and final right now.
This particular pandemic doesn't happen overnight. This is something that's going to continue, and it takes a long time for us to sort out what's true and what's not.
And lastly, when you're reading up on something, think about the writer's motive. Are they trying to sell you something or scare you or actually trying to clear things up? If something seems sketchy or selfish, that just might be the case.
The propagandists distrust institutions, and opportunists, the snake oil salesmen, the people that are, providing the next elixir. Be careful of that kind of news.
So, long story short, be wary and really just do some critical thinking when you're learning something new these days.
So, May, I'm curious, after talking to Jevin, do you kind of see what I was getting at? You don't have to choose between just, throwing up your hands and admitting, I don't know anything about this virus, or embracing these nutso conspiracy theories.
Right, it's more about the healthy skepticism in between. But Sam, I will point out that you were the one so bothered by uncertainty, you paid for a test that didn't really get rid of your uncertainty.
Right.
So then how do you live with it?
I mean, I think it's what Jevin said. We want answers to basic questions. That's totally natural. But if science has any lesson for people on a personal level, I think it's that when you don't know something, you don't run away from that uncertainty. You define it with expert opinion and studies and numbers and observations.
Yeah, just know what you don't know.
Exactly. Accept uncertainty, because at the end of the day, that's probably what's going to actually get you closer to the truth. All right, we'll leave it there. At a Distance is a podcast from CPR News. It's hosted by me, Sam Brash.
And me, May Ortega.
Our producer is Rebecca Romberg.
Our executive producer is Kevin Dale.
Brad Turner is our head of audio innovations, and he wrote our theme music.
Yes, he did. And additional music is by Blue Dot Sessions. And thank you.
What a bunch of bullshit.